Welcome to the Reverie Nature Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Clifford, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about a mindset that I use all the time when planning for adventures or when I'm out and about. This mindset, or I guess this principle I keep in the back of my mind, pops up when it's needed to keep me safe and not making a bunch of little mistakes that, as we know, can cause to larger mishaps. In the Reverie Nature Podcast, you can expect to find a wide variety of topics on the nature experience, from bushcraft, survival skills, nature lore, animal tracks and sign, storytelling, nature soundscapes, and much more. These are the lessons and skills I've been teaching for decades. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe and consider offering your support to the podcast. If you've ever paid attention to the accumulation of mistakes that make disasters happen in the outdoors, you will realize that it's often these little mistakes that build up to cause a calamity. It's often not just one colossal mistake, it's a bunch of little ones. Not all the time, but often. So there's a great rule or principle that I learned back in the 90s, and I first heard it from a guy named Tom Potter, who's a professor of outdoor recreation parks and tourism in Thunder Bay at Lakehead University. And it goes something like this, and this is an older memory, but so, let's see if I get it right. It's called the 3 lemon rule. And what happens is when you get the 3 lemons, you don't get lemonade. That's when disaster is more likely to occur. And the lemons are this: every little mistake you make or every little overlook, those things build up. And let's face it, when you're out in the woods, let's say more than 2 hours from help, things are more delicate. You can't have a twisted ankle when you're more than 2 hours from help. What a problem that is to get yourself out or for others to help you get out if you have a sore ankle and you can't put weight on it. If you're 5 minutes from the car, no big deal, right? But when you're 2 hours out, getting you back with that kind of injury, that could take 8 hours. It could be a big ordeal. So the further you are out away from help, you need to be extra precautious. And this kind of leads me to another principle I keep in the back of my mind. The further you are from help, in other words, I think I first learned about this 2-hour thing at a wilderness first responder course. And I think they called it wilderness protocol. I don't remember exactly, but it was when you're 2 hours from help or 2 hours from getting medical attention, you need to change your behaviors. And what does that look like? Let me just continue with this little side note here. When you would normally climb a little boulder and jump off, this 4 or 5 foot ledge just because you can, and, so you're not going to twist your ankle because you're pretty comfortable with the height. When you're 2 hours back in the woods or 2 hours from help, no, you don't do things like that. Because that off chance or that 10% chance you roll your ankle doing something you ordinarily could do, it's a bigger problem when you're out there. Let me give you another example, and this is about axe use. If you're canoe camping, let's say, and you're a few days out into the woods or on your paddle trip, you're splitting firewood with your axe. Well, I split wood all the time. I have wood heat house here, and I'm using firewood. I'm standing when I split the wood with the axe. I'm very mindful of follow through with the axe and how the axe can glaze off a piece of wood and get deflected. I know how to stand and hold the axe further away from me when I split wood. But when I'm in the woods, not too close to that medical attention, should mishap happen, I take this extraordinary step that I think I first heard from Morris Kohansky on axe use. I don't recall where I got this tidbit from, but I go down on my knees. If I'm splitting wood at a remote spot, I'm on my knees and I'll split the wood from there. And I don't have the same amount of leverage. It's a little harder to do, not much harder, but a little harder to do. But boy, the follow through of that axe after it splits the wood, it's not coming back to harm you. Likewise, I do not use hatchets when I'm back in the woods. A long handle axe for the amount of weight extra you're bringing, even if you use a lighter head on the axe. That long handle is a safe handle because you're keeping that axe head further away from you. The shorter the handle is, the easier it is for the axe to glaze off or to lose control momentarily and to come back and harm you. So, yes, when you're 2 hours from help, this matters. These little behaviors matter. Now let's get back to our 3 lemon rule. When I'm planning, I don't, I know when, if I'm taking a shortcut, like let's say when I'm going into an area where there's mosquitoes and it's a backpacking trip, if I decide not to bring my tent, and I just did this recently, I know the mosquitoes are going to be a problem at night. And what I did recently was I brought a little, it's like a head net, but it's made to kind of go over a sleeping bag. And I knew that my sleep would be a little more uncomfortable with these mosquitoes. That's a lemon, right? What if the little mosquito net didn't work so well because I hadn't tested it? That's one lemon right there. Now let's suppose I get out on that trip and I let a couple of other things go. Let's say I forget my bug spray. That's lemon number 2. So now I have a net that may or may not work for the evenings. I don't have bug spray. That's going to cause a lot of undue stress. And, fortunately, I don't really react to mosquito bites, so it's not too big of a problem for me. But these little things are lemons, right? And that, perhaps if, I did respond or react more to mosquito bites, maybe I have a bad night. I forgot my bug spray. At the night, they're chewing me up, eating me alive. I'm getting stressed out at night. I'm not getting enough sleep. That's 2 lemons there, right? Forgetting those 2 things or not testing those 2 things before using them. And now the next day I'm out on a hike. I'm a little tired. I'm not making decisions with, the same clarity as I would if I was, rested, and a little agitated from the bugs. And you could see how mistakes can start to be made. I can make rash choices. I could decide to do shortcuts through the woods, knowing that I'm a little stressed already and a little overtired, more likely to have injury or to make mistakes. So these little things build up. But the fact that I'm aware of these lemons, when I'm making decisions and I know that I already have a couple of lemons built up or a couple of little things I've overlooked, it just pops into my mind. It's like my conscience telling me, okay, now you already got a couple lemons here. Do you want to push it, make this other little overlook, or take this other little shortcut, or do you want to play it safe? Right? You getting the point? So this is how these little mistakes add up. They seem like nothing at the time. They're minor, but you put 3 of these together, and now it's quite foreseeable and easy to understand how this could turn into a problem. Let's use another example. How about your navigation tools? When you're out backpacking or walking trails, you could tell yourself that you're going to stay on the trail and, therefore you don't really need navigation equipment. You got your little trail map to tell you when to take your right and left turns, that sort of thing. But how often do we stay to the trail? Yeah, usually, but it's so easy to get sidetracked, to find a blueberry patch or any little thing. So not bringing a compass, to me, that's a lemon for sure, no doubt about it. Not bringing a GPS or trusting your phone to be your GPS, I don't know, my phone batteries die pretty quickly. So if I'm out for more than a day and I'm going to trust my phone, that's just a lemon. You can rely on it, but it's a lemon. Don't fool yourself. You could bring a battery pack to help with that. Right? So these are little things that add up. So that's navigation. And what if you lose your map when you're out there? It's not your fault necessarily. It just disappeared. You don't know what happened to it. Now you're without a map or navigation equipment or a GPS. So there's your 2 lemons that turned into a potential disaster. The 3rd lemon would be to choose to go off the trail, knowing that you already have not brought your compass and perhaps are relying on your cell phone for navigation. So those are 2 lemons. You decide that choice to go off trail, to pick blueberries, whatever it is. There's lemon number 3. It doesn't take long to get lost. You can literally be out in the woods for 30 seconds off the trail and get lost. It happens all the time. So this is an easy principle or concept, isn't it? The 3 lemon rule. Keep that in the back of your mind. Use it like your second conscience, perhaps, because it will keep you safe. It'll go a long way to keep you safe, I should say. It'll also help you to become a safer outdoors person. It'll have you constantly being a little more critical of the choices that you make in all steps of your outings. So use this 3 lemon principle, get it into your mind, and if it works for you as it works for me, you can have a little more confidence in the choices you make and in your safety for yourself and your group. And of course, if you need wilderness survival training, go out and get it. This podcast is for entertainment purposes. Thank you for joining us on the Reverie Nature Podcast. Remember to subscribe for more captivating episodes exploring the wonders of the natural world. Until next time, may you saunter forth embracing nature's song, and may the whispers of the wilderness linger in your heart.
And floating above the forest